Hello friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I am doing this video because I'm honestly, I'm a little bit ticked because I was talking about this It Girl palette from Ulta, right? And I had been totally stalking QVC's website to see if they were going to do a most wished for palette again this year. Last year it looked like this and it had like all these little pull out things and it was just loaded with It Cosmetics goodness everywhere you turn. And I just gouged one there. I thought, are they going to do that again this year? I was waiting for it, and I thought, well, maybe, I guess not. And then just this past week, they put out the It Girl Beauty Book. Yes, I still stand by my recommendation of this palette from Ulta, which contains 10 eyeshadows and a blush, but this thing is really gonna be major multitasking here. It's an actual just fold out beauty book. The packaging design I think is better than years past, but it's a little different in terms of what you're getting. But I created my whole face with it with the addition of only 3 other products, so let's take a look. Hey guys, gonna jump into that beauty book in a second, but I'm going to start off just getting my coverage on my face with a foundation or a foundation-y type product. I'm gonna use my CC cream here in medium. This is just kind of like in the spirit of It Cosmetics. Also, this is saving me the step of using a separate moisturizer too. So it's coverage and moisturizer in one. So, you know, when I think about multitasking, I just really get on a roll. And then this is just my Tarte brush from that holiday set. The one that I really liked was the one from Sephora. Get this all blended right quick. Now I'm going to open the beauty book to the first page, if you will, and I've got my correctors up here. I've got Fair to Light, Medium, and Tan Rich. And these are the Bye Bye Under Eye correctors. So I'm going to start off by mostly using the Fair to Light shade. And I'm going to just start dabbing this around like my darkest areas. It's really an amazing thing that they've got that included in a palette like this. But real quick, mid-blend here, I do want to show you something. I have the Bye Bye Under Eye full-size corrector in medium, and it is a little different tone. I feel like I discussed this last year with the palette, but this is the full-size corrector right here. And then this is the medium that's included in this palette. So the actual corrector seems to have a little more peach, and in the palette it's a bit more yellow. I still find these to be corrective in the palette, but it's, you know, it's just a slightly different tone. And I am going to blend in a little bit of the medium just in certain areas where I know I've got a few like little dark spots or just a little melasma still. When you kind of tackle that with a slightly deeper shade, it's amazing how much better it can conceal and camouflage. And then I'm also going to use the light shade like in areas where I might want to brighten a bit more. And then I'm just taking this other Tarte brush and I'm going to blend that out. It's very easy to blend, like it's a nice consistency that's not identical to Benefit Erase Paste, but it's, I would say it's in the ballpark, you know? If you feel like a lot of concealers you use, maybe liquid concealers that you grab for, tend to have a big dry down on you and that's too much for your skin to handle, this is definitely gonna feel creamier than stuff like that. There is a nice richness to these concealers. And I wouldn't be concerned about them drying out either in this format because my concealers that were in last year's palette are doing just fine. Since there is no bronzer in this particular palette, I found that I can use this Tan Rich color of corrector. And yep, I can contour with that and take it just a little bit around my hairline up here. Seriously, it's so easy. You don't have to be careful with it. And then just take a small like contour brush, get that all blended in. And you know, if I wanted to get super duper serious about the multitasking nature of this palette, I could probably just moisturize first and even skip the CC cream and really go head first into these correctors and just use that like foundation because I could probably be satisfied with the coverage I would get just doing it that way. The next thing I'm going to do is use the Bye Bye Pores Pressed, the translucent powder here. Quite a big pan. Just dab over my under eye. And, you know, I find that it kind of sets that area without too much thickness of product. You know, like this eye that I've just set in comparison to the feel of this one still feels just a bit tacky. This feels a little more smooth. But I did notice a difference between the texture of the Bye Bye Pores Pressed in this palette and the one in last year's. Last year's was like a little more soft. I'm not saying I can't like swatch some of this up on my finger and you can still see the powder, but look at this. In last year's palette, if I take a swatch of it, like a lot comes off. It just seems like a softer powder. It's like maybe it's just pressed a little harder in this one, or maybe they've changed the formula a little bit since. I'm not sure. I think I still end up with the same effect, but just so you know, to get the amount that I'm wanting or to get the effect that I'm wanting on my skin, I'll take my brush in here and kind of a little bit. And I'm not feeling like I really need to powder up the skin big time everywhere, but I do hit my T-zone in the under eye. Then we've got a cream highlight here, which is really, really gorgeous. And it's very easy to just dab this right on the top of your cheek here. I kind of like to just use my finger actually with it. Like it's very, very easy to blend and it doesn't stay too tacky on the skin. I mean, you could use a boatload of it and you could probably succeed in making it feel tacky, but just a little bit like looks super dewy and pretty. Do I need that much of it? Like look how much space they devoted to it. I would have taken maybe some larger sized correctors instead of having quite that large of a thing of cream highlight, but that's just me. This shade they actually say is called Inner Light, and it's very like subtle, but it is glowing. It's not gonna look all cakey. But a little trick that I learned the other day, if you want a powder highlight, there is one in this palette. It's over in the eyeshadows and it's the shade called Kindness. So I'm gonna use a little bit of that for you right now just to show that this works. Especially when you go on top of the cream, it really clings there. And I was just kind of like working on this side of the palette at first and I realized, oh, I haven't done my blush yet. I normally would do blush before highlight, but that's fine. There's a blush in here, a really big one, an ombre blush called Naturally Pretty. And in comparison to the one that they're giving you in the Ulta palette, this is a little less coral and a little more on the pink side. So I'm going to swirl that, and I'm just tapping into it, by the way, kind of toward the bottom. It's blush top to bottom. I wouldn't consider the top part of that, even though that looks lighter, I wouldn't call that a highlight, but you can, you know, apply it however you wish. If you work in a little bit more of the top part, you might get a little more glow in your blush and a little bit lighter shade. But I think that's very pretty. I think that was a good choice to include color-wise in this palette. So there we are, our CC cream and only face stuff from this palette. We were able to use, you know, the translucent powder, the cream highlight, all of the correctors in various ways, the blush and eyeshadow that can be a powder highlight if that's what you prefer. Now at this point I would go in and do my brows, and there isn't anything specifically labeled brow, but I am pretty sure that I can get away with using this color called Delight in my brows, and maybe at times I could use the dark brown superhero liner. The only tough part about this palette is if you are... Do y'all see how pretty the sky looks back there? Oh my gosh, I love that. The only tricky thing about this palette is if you do beauty videos and you're wanting to hold it up to your camera, you got this kind of flopping out. But in a general sense, like it lays out very nicely just across your lap or on your table or dresser or whatever. But I'm going to use Delight here with my angled brow brush. And yeah, I think this shade can work for me. One outside product that I feel I just really want to pull in here because I always use eye primer, my Milani eyeshadow primer. Now in the little booklet, it says we've got superhero eyeshadows and we've got naturally pretty eyeshadows. The superhero ones are the eye foundation that's up top, and then these are labeled superhero liners here at the bottom, the really dark brown and the black. And then everything in the middle are different naturally pretty eyeshadows. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes, and then a couple of more metallic ones. And then I would say this one, and this one down here are more of just a soft shimmer. But just a little thing that I noticed here, I really expected that Big Heart, the one in the center, and Treasure would be like the exact same feel and just texture, because here in person they just look like the same level of metallic. But Treasure is a lot stronger shade than Big Heart. This is Treasure, this is Big Heart. In a concentrated swatch they might look similar, but I just can't make Big Heart apply like really full on the eyes. And so I was kind of bummed about that, because it's sort of this mauvey burgundy color and I love that kind of shade, and I was disappointed that it was a little bit on the weak side. However, when I used it instead as a shadow that I could just buff out like on the outer edge of the look, it looked really, really pretty that way. So I don't know, kind of a bad news, good news situation with that color, I suppose. But on the whole, I think we've got some really nice shades to work with. So I am first going to use a little bit of Loyal, which is this matte kind of peachy beige. It's one of those colors that like at a glance you think, oh, that's really light, but look how, at least on my skin tone, it functions as a really nice natural crease color. I'm going to work in some Delight. That's the shade I was using in my brows. If you're familiar with the Naturally Pretty eyeshadow formula, they are, I think, some of the easiest shadows to blend. If you're like me and you kind of get to this no man's land part of the inner part of your crease, I'm going to go back and forth with the eye foundation, as my friend David would probably advise here, because this is almost like skin tone powder, and kind of use that back and forth with your shadows to help that area look nice and buffed out. And then I'm going to use a little bit of that and a little dab of the shimmery shade as a highlight under the brow. And I want to use some Treasure, which is this pretty like bronzy shade. I'm going to get some of that going on my lid. This could be a quick one shadow look, actually, just using this shade. By one shadow look, I mean putting it on your lid, grabbing a different brush that's going to diffuse it up into your crease a little bit. That would work fine, I think. And then let's use a little bit of Kindness. We all need a little bit of kindness. I'm going to put that around my inner corner. That is a really nice shade. Like, there's a reason why that totally popped on my cheeks when I was using it as a highlight. Then I haven't used Passion yet, and Passion is this nice navy blue. And back in the day, in case you didn't get enough reminiscing in my last video that I did, wow, that's really pigmented. I remember in my early days how Smashbox had put out like these kits for different eye colors. And there were a lot of brands at the time seeming to be kind of obsessed about putting out certain shadow products catering to your eye color. And the thing that they put out for brown eyes tended to incorporate blue or navy, and navy liners and like a dark blue shadow maybe. And I always thought, yeah, that color works really well on me. But these days, it's not often a shade that I work into my eye looks. There's no real reason why not, though. I mean, this palette does give you that nice wearable dark navy. I like it because it's deep without losing its actual color, because that's the problem sometimes with some palettes. Like I noticed this in one of Tarte's holiday palettes. They put in some really, really deep colors and they were so dark. They just looked dark on the eyes. You couldn't see like that it was blue or teal or whatever. Dabbing just a bit more bronze on the lid because when I blended, I sort of blended some away. What I was talking about with the center shade here called Big Heart, this mauve shimmer, doesn't pack on as well as I would like on the lid, but it makes a really pretty kind of blended out type of shade around like my outer V, in this area here, you know, just a little splash of mauve. It's pretty. It's so pretty like that. My friends, I do believe I'm creating a bit of a smoky eye here. I'm gonna go into this Superhero liner. This is the one called Superhero. This other one, the dark brown, is called Soul. I'm just gonna take that dark liner. Until I got this palette, it had been quite some time since I had lined my eyes with powder. But I just try to keep it in really, really close to my lash line. And it's nice and intense and it's really pretty easy. Makes your lash line look a little thicker, like just a quick step you can take. And frankly, I think you could line with that navy blue as well, or even this like kind of shimmery, plummy gray. Then I think I will use a little bit of this Generous shade right here. I'll get a little bit of that smudging. This is just my E21 smudge brush from Sigma. smudge a little bit of that down here. And something I haven't really addressed yet is the fact that this palette does not contain brushes or applicators, and the one last year did. However, it was kind of a non-factor for me. I thought they were just kind of taking up space. I wasn't really using them. It was just like, okay, let's throw in some applicators, but it wasn't like any sort of brush that IT Cosmetics actually makes. You know, they kind of pride themselves on really nice, soft, wonderful brushes, and then they just throw in some cheapos into a palette. Not that they're entirely unusable, but really, you know, it wasn't totally necessary. Like, I think a lot of people that get something like this sort of understand that they're going to probably reach for some of their own brushes. And then I'm going to continue on with the bronze. I'm going to just pop a little bit of that here. Blend it in with that other shade. It's just going to look kind of dark and murky, but it's okay. Then I'm going to curl my lashes, and I'm going to just apply a little bit of Voluminous Lash Paradise real quick. Now for lips right here, you're getting 6 different shades of the Blurred Lines lipstick. You've got Naturally Pretty, which is just this nice, like, kind of Your Lips But Better type shade. Kisses is sort of a bubblegummy pink, and I thought that was kind of a funny choice for this palette. It Girl is a really pretty red. Cozy is going to be your neutral, sort of peachy nude. Live is kind of that classic, every woman's kind of berry rose type shade, and then Fairy Tale is a cool sort of mauve pink. I applied these with my own lip brush. You could use your fingers for maybe some of the more natural shades, but I think the brighter or deeper shades, a lip brush will definitely benefit you for the precision. But I've always thought this Blurred Lines formula is really, really good. I know lip butters were really hot like maybe a few years back, and it's like the essence of a lip butter, you know? It makes me think of that lip balmy type feel, but yet the lipstick color intensity. And it's not gonna be matte, it's not gonna be drying whatsoever. They feel like an actual like treatment type product on the lips. And I'm actually wearing right now a combo of Live, which is the shade I sort of described as a rosy berry, and a little bit of It Girl, the red, mixed into that. Obviously, when you've got a palette of lip colors, you can create whatever combos you want. I think they could have maybe benefited from having like a deep neutral or just one other more neutrally nude shade in here. But overall, I do like having the lip colors in here. If it's a palette like this that's going to definitely have division between each panel, then if you want to throw in some lip colors, that's fine by me. But the finished look, I'm really happy with it, considering all I added in was my CC cream, my eyeshadow primer, and my mascara, and this is the entire look. Comparing it to last year's palette, it's not exactly like it. I think it's definitely a better packaging design. I think you're getting a little less in terms of product variety, but with some things you're getting bigger sizes of products in here. And I'm not one who's looking for them to put out like the exact same thing, maybe with just a slightly different shade variation year after year. I like to see a brand actually switch it up and do something different, but keep that concept of having a multitasking palette. I remember when I first reviewed this and so many people kind of complained that, you know, the outer packaging of this looked like any drugstore palette you could pick up from Walgreens, you know, but the quality of what was inside was real IT Cosmetics stuff. This did have the nice mirror in it, and this one, this year, you fold it all the way out, and there is a mirror on this side, but it's kind of one of those situations where either you're gonna have to fold the palette somewhat back together on itself in order to hold it. Otherwise, it's just gonna kind of hang down and you're gonna hold it right in front of your face, which I guess is not unheard of. You know, that's not out of the question. It could work. But truly, I think it's pretty well thought out that this is gonna fold in on itself and no part of it is gonna be butted up right next to other product. And they do give you little sheets, by the way, over each part if you just wanted to keep it protected from the palette itself. But the messiest part of this by far, I think, is gonna be your eyeshadows, and that's the part that has the mirror right on top of it. And then it's gonna fold just like that. And with this on top with a nice magnetic closure, I mean, so compact. A few things that give me pause. I mean, I love that the correctors are in here. I think it's very unique to find coverage products in a palette like this, right? But like I pointed out last year, the tones are a little bit different from just the full-size pot. If you've tried that and like you compare medium to medium like I did, this medium is more yellow toned. I question a little bit also the texture of the Bye Bye Pores Pressed. It still gets the job done. It's just a little less soft feeling than it was in last year's palette. I'm happy with the blush and the lip colors. I'm also really pleased with the eyeshadows here. I think this is a very easy to wear everyday type selection of shades. I don't feel like IT Cosmetics is putting this out thinking, here's your holiday glamorous eye palette. I think they're putting this out from the thought that this is something that can take you through the entire year for any circumstance, for any person you might give this to. And it did come in a cute little like silver gift box with a bow already around it. The regular cost for this is around 50 bucks on QVC, but when I purchased it, it was marked down to 44, and I actually think that's a great bargain for what you're getting here. And it is that beautiful exterior, the same thing that's going on the outside of the Ulta palette with just like a cluster, a collage of all these little gemstones. It's very, very pretty. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this Ulta palette, but if you're really in the mood for some multitasking, if you like the idea of the coverage products, the highlighter, Bye Bye Pores powder, the lip products and all that, I mean, this is gonna take you a little bit further. I think it's stretching your dollar a little bit more here. So I was editing my video yesterday and I realized it got to the end and I didn't sign off. I didn't say bye-bye, see you later, thanks for watching, anything. And I just went and recorded, you know, the intro, the first part that you see when you click on this video. Like I didn't wrap it up in any way, so I'm back to do that now. I think I covered everything of substance on this palette already. I thought I'll show you another look with it. So I used everything in the palette like I did yesterday, but I used some different shades like on the eyes, and I worked in actual liquid liner and some black pencil in my lower inner rim to make it a little more dramatic. In the crease I used this shade called Glory, which is kind of a mauvey, lavender, real dusty, murky kind of shade, but it's beautiful in the crease. And then I went just above that a little bit with Loyal, this color right here. And then I've got this taupe on my lid that's called Respect, and then Superhero. The liner shade actually blended out in my outer corner to get that nice and dark, and then I took that same black onto my lower lash line and more of Glory just really smudged out there. So I kind of feel like I've got quite a smoky eye going on with this look, and I'm really liking it. So a little more dramatic twist on it. I've got the blush on as well. For a highlight, I only used the color called Kindness from the eyeshadow, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of shine out of that. And then my lip color, I used a combo of Naturally Pretty and Cozy. So when you layer those two, you get a slight more like soft pink look to the lips as opposed to just like a peachy nude lip. And I have my lashes on as well. So I hope you like this look. Just one more idea, I guess, for what to do with this palette. Really enjoying it. I think it's going to be awesome for travel. I think I'm totally going to throw this in my travel bag for Thanksgiving. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.